Okay, so last lesson we looked at speed, distance, time. Continuing on with compound measures, today we're going to look at density and pressure, which are the other two we need to know. We're going to look at them in a bit of a more basic sense today. Still not basic, it's a bit of a tough topic. And then over the next lesson or two we'll look at it where we have two separate objects and we have to combine them, or two different parts of a journey and we've got to combine them. Right, in this lesson we're going to look at when we've got one object and we want to find something to do with the density, or one object and we want to find something to do with the pressure. So, I can write on top of this PowerPoint, but it's really good to make some notes from this because it's kind of exactly what I would have used in class when I was planning to do these lessons. So, density gives us a measure of how tightly something is packed. You'll have heard something, when something is dense, it means it's quite small and heavy. It's a lot heavier than it kind of looks, is a decent way of describing it. It's just how much something is tight, how tightly it's packed is a good way of explaining it. We get another triangle. So density equals to mass divided by volume. And when we have our units, generally we'll have grams over centimetres cubed. And if you ever forget this formula, well, mass is measured in grams and volume is measured in centimetres cubed or metres cubed. So actually it is just grams divided by centimetres cubed if you think about mass divided by volume. That's exactly what this unit is telling you. So sometimes in a question they'll say something like this: the density is 2.3 g/centimetres cubed. You can think, well, this is mass and this is volume, so mass divided by volume. That's how I remember the formula. And we get another triangle. So density is mass over volume. Remember, this line means multiply, this line tells us to divide, and we cover up the one we want to find and it tells us what sum to do. So in this case we've got the density as 2.3 and we've got the, well, we don't have the mass, and we've got the volume is 20 centimetres cubed. So we want to find the mass. Let's cover up the mass. You wouldn't scribble, you just do it with your finger. So to find the mass we need to do density times by volume. So I need to do 2.3 times by 20, and that is going to give me 46. It's a mass, so this is going to be grams. So 46 grams is the mass of this rock. Okay, maybe you want to have a quick check yourself. I'll go through this one again as another example. So if you got 19.3, well done. Bear with me as I work through this one a little bit. So density equals to mass over volume. Draw your triangle out. We've got the volume is 120. We've got the mass is 2316. We want to find the density this time, so cover up density. Density equals to mass divided by volume. So 2316 divided by 120. So we get 19.3. They've given us the units there nicely, so we wouldn't have to remember that it would be grams per centimetres cubed. Okay, next slide. Quickly having a look at what the pressure formula is. So pressure is how hard something is being pushed down on a surface, and it can be concentrated. So if you put kind of a pin down on your hand, it would hurt more than if you had a flatter, wider surface. Think about when people walk on ice or snow, the classic kind of film picture is that you'll strap tennis rackets to your shoes, and that gives you a larger surface area and it spreads your weight out more. This comes from the pressure formula. So pressure is force divided by area. So with a division, if your area is bigger, your surface area of kind of contact is bigger, the pressure will be less because you're dividing by a larger number. So you've got less pressure, and then in the case of walking on ice or snow, less chance of cracking it. So a question here, it's a very similar, these are all similar. You draw your triangle, you always do the P, the F's on the top, then the A's on the bottom right. You write out what you've got. So we've got a force of 140 newtons is what we use for force. You might have heard that in science, I expect you would have at this stage. And we've got the pressure is 35 newtons per metre squared. We do not have the area, so let's cover up area. Area is going to be force divided by pressure. So 140 divided by 35. And that is going to be a nice 4. And it's an area, so meters squared, and I've took that from that meters squared there. Let's just double check I've got it correct. Spot on. And then we get a nice little fun fact in the bottom corner. So you can read that. It's just saying in the deepest part of the sea, in the Mariana Trench, they measure it in PSI, which is pressure per square inch. The pressure down there is like having a 1,000 stone truck placed on every single square inch of the surface. That sounds a bit mad. So I've got 5 questions for you here. This will be put on a PDF if you prefer it like that, or you can just have a go here, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through another type of question after. So either work it on the PDF and return, or stick on the video, have a go. I'm going to reveal the answers now, so you can mark it straight away, and then in a separate video I might go through these all in detail. Okay, so the 4 answers for these. This was a bit of a challenge because you had to do something a little bit at the end with the money. You had to find part of it first, and then you had to, I think you also had to work out the volume yourself, or the area yourself. Okay. This is where density becomes more applicable. You'll see it more like this. They'll very rarely just give you 2 values and expect you to work with a triangle and figure that out. So sometimes we have to work with the volumes, so hopefully our volume work is good. I know we've done a bit of that this year. We did it quite recently actually. You'd be expected to find the volume first, because remember, density equals to mass over volume. Sometimes they'll just give you a shape. You can find the volume yourself. So recall that the volume of a prism, you find the area of this front face, which would be 12 times by 5 over 2, base times height divided by 2, so that would be 30, and then you multiply it by the length, which will be 15. So the volume equals to 30 times by 15. It's the same method with, even if it's not a triangle, you find the area of the front face and then times it by the length. So 30 times by 15 is going to be 450. We're also told that the density is 6.6. We do not have the mass. We're asked to find that. So get your triangle going. Density equals to mass over volume. So we want to find the mass. Let's cover this up. Remember, this line means times, so mass equals to density times by volume. So we've got the density as 6.6, we've got the volume as 450. So let's do 6.6 times by 450. We're going to get 2,970. And our units would be grams, because I'm going to take the mass unit from there. Mass is either in grams or kilograms or something like that. Let's just double check I got this right. Yep, correct. And there we go. So there's going to be a question here for you to have a go at. I'm going to give you a hint, because this is quite a tricky question if you don't read it correctly. It says this is a prism. But obviously a prism must be 3D. It says that the length of this prism is 2 meters. That means our shape is going to look something like this. And the second trick it does, this is a really horrible question, this is in meters and this is in centimeters. So instead of this wouldn't just be 2, this length here, this would actually be 200 centimeters. 200 centimeters. So what you want to do is you want to find the area of this front face, probably by splitting it into two rectangles, finding the area of this first, then finding the area of that, adding them together, then you want to times it by 200, that'll get you the volume. Okay, so hopefully that's giving you a bit of a start on this, and then I will go through it. Okay, so if I clear this, I'll get my eraser. I'm just going to rub out a bit of this, just so. Actually, I'll keep that like that. Okay, so having a go at this. Hopefully you've had a good go. If not, pause it now, please. So if I split this, this is going to be a length of 2, so this is going to be a length of 5. So I've got a rectangle which is 5 by 2 and a rectangle which is 2 by 7. So this is going to be an area of 14, this is going to be an area of 10. So my cross section, which is what the front face, the fancy name for the front face is called, is going to be 24. So then the volume is going to be 24 times by 200, which gives me 4,800. Let's just double check I'm on the right lines. Perfect, perfect. So now we've got a volume, we can go ahead, density equals to mass divided by volume. The volume is 4,800. Let's check the question. Density is 8 grams per centimeters cubed, and it's asking us to find the mass. So the mass is a question mark. Cover up the mass. Okay, so mass equals to density times volume. Density is 8. Volume is 4,800. So 38,400 grams. There we go, spot on. Well done if you got that right. That's quite a tricky GCSE question that trips a lot of people up. Okay, so there's going to be some questions for you to have a go at that look something like this. I might adapt them a little bit, but I think they're fine as they are. So hopefully that has helped. I'll put some videos up for the solutions for this exercise and for the following exercise as well to accompany the lesson, for if you ever need any help on that. So hopefully you made some good notes, and hopefully you've understood what's happened there. If not, please drop me a message.